Hello there. Happy Sunday. I'm thinking about CERB the last few days. It's come up a few times on various social media platforms, in the news, that kind of thing that I've seen, and what keeps coming up is the CERB extension, and so there's 8 more weeks. There's 8 more weeks, and so that means people are applying now for July, or they have applied already. And it was that you could just apply. There was a little attestation that you clicked off to say yes, I've lost my job because of COVID. Yes, I'm not working, all of the criteria pieces. And then the government just sent you money. So it was a really fast process. The government rolled it out really quickly because they wanted people to have money back when, it feels like years ago now, but it's just a few months ago, when everything shut down and it was really scary and we didn't know what was going to happen. And so I think doing that was the right move, in the sense that people needed money right away and the government needed to be able to give it to them. But now, 4 months later, they're realizing that a lot of people are claiming it when they shouldn't be claiming it. The government is kind of funding organized crime unintentionally, because they're sending CERB payments to people who are setting up fake identities, not fake identities because you needed a CRA login, but they're doing it and it's fraudulent basically, and they're part of organized crime. So the government has realized that for these last 2 payments, they need to be a little bit more stringent about it, and they really need to identify more people. They need a better system than just, yes, I'm okay, or yes, I qualify. And so now if you have applied for this payment, your account could have been flagged, and they're flagging a lot of accounts now to do an identity validation. Basically, they're trying to figure out who you are and whether you actually qualify or not before they send you that money. And they're doing that because if they wait until next year, when we file our taxes, if they wait till then to do this sort of work to figure out if you really did qualify or not, it's kind of too late. They're not going to get their money back from the people that shouldn't have been applying. Basically, they're worried that they're not going to get big pieces of that fraudulent money that was paid out back, and so they're trying to protect themselves. And so I understand that, and I think it's they should be trying to protect themselves, and they should be trying to make sure that the money that they're sending out is going to somebody who should be getting it. But the tricky bit is that they only have so many people that can look at accounts and to validate those. And so what's happening is that they've suddenly brought in this program, or they've suddenly made this change, and they've overwhelmed themselves. And so now they just can't keep up, and people are waiting for long periods of time to be validated and to get their CERB payments. And I've read stories of people waiting a month. I've heard stories of people being told that they have to wait 30 business days, so not even a month, well, longer than a month. That's what I meant by that. And I can't imagine what that must feel like. I can't imagine having been on CERB, been through this scary last 4 months of this pandemic, and then so you're already probably not being able to pay your bills very easily, and then you're relying on this money, and you are now in the 5th month. This would be the 5th payment, and so there's been sort of a routine. You apply, you get paid 3 to 10 days later, and so you've relied on that money, and then suddenly it's not coming, and now you have nothing, in a sense. Now you're in this weird limbo. And so this is something that needs to be fixed, in my opinion. But I don't have an answer for it, and I think that's a part of the problem in when we look at situations like these where we think, oh, well, the government should have known this was coming, or they should have done better. And it's really easy to say that the politicians should have done better, but it's really hard to come up with what that should have been. So yes, I think they did the right thing in getting it out very quickly. Yes, they're kind of having to fix a mess now, but you know, they're doing their best out there, and they're trying to fix it before it becomes a huge issue, and trying to do it like when we file our taxes next year. And I think too that it's really, really easy. Like, I watch the press conferences that the ministers have, and the journalists will ask them these questions, and they ask them very pointed questions. And the questions are such that it's like, well, you should have been better. Why weren't you better? But those questions are very like, hindsight is 2020. Like, of course you get to ask that question now because we're looking back on exactly how it went down. And so you can say these like super aggressive questions because you know what happened. But at the time, they had no idea what was going to happen. They didn't know like how this was all going to play out. They didn't know that, you know, this was going to go on for as long as it has been, or, you know, they had different models, and it really depended on how people acted. And so, yeah, right now we're in sort of a tougher spot. Like, if you're on CERB, it's an even tougher spot to not have those payments coming in. But my best recommendation for you is to just keep at it, keep calling them, keep trying to ask, like, how can I get this account? How can I get my account validated? And trying to ask for, you know, the manager of the agent that you're talking to, or, you know, just keep at it. Because it's the public servants that are having to administer all this, and they are honestly doing their best. I truly believe that they are doing their best. I know that they get sort of a bad rap sometimes, especially when things go wrong, because that's the only time anybody ever tends to say something. It's kind of like when I worked for the corporation, the big corporation, and nobody, and like the IT department, like I was always mad at the IT department when something happened, but rarely, never was I like, hey, IT department, thanks so much for the day. Like, my email didn't go down all day today. Like, nobody ever thinks about IT until something goes wrong. And I think it's sort of the same thing with public servants. Like, nobody ever really acknowledges that they're the ones that are doing all of this. Like, they're the people on the ground sort of thing until something goes wrong. So yeah, thank you to the public servants. I know you're working really hard, and this isn't easy. And I know that they've made a change, the government has made a change now and has sort of overwhelmed the system. So I hope on the public servant side that this gets sorted out quickly so that they are able to do their jobs more effectively. And I hope for the people that are trying to receive CERB that this gets sorted out too, because I know that they need those payments, and it could be a very dire situation if they're not receiving it. So if that's you, keep at it, keep calling them. Hopefully something will shift for you. If you have questions for me, you want to chat about this or just sort of talk it through, then leave a comment for me, and I would love to chat with you. Or you can send the Caitlin Kirk CPA Facebook page a message, and that's me on the other side of it. Definitely send me a message. I hope you're doing well. Hope you have a good week. I'll see you tomorrow.